Hey guys, I'm going to be talking about Number the Stars a little bit and some background information that you really want to know to be able to understand truly what's happening in the novel we're reading. A lot of you have some information on the Holocaust and on Hitler and the Nazi Party. A lot of it, though, is in Germany and Poland. And this story is all based in Denmark. And this is based on true events that happened. It's not necessarily a full true story with the characters. But a lot of this is exactly what happened in Denmark during this time. So this is during 1942, and we're in the middle of World War II. And at the time, Germany has already invaded other countries around Denmark, and Denmark has been invaded, but they haven't currently been fighting. So, what happened was basically the Nazi Party came in and was going to take over, just like it had taken over multiple other countries in this area. And the government system in Denmark did not fight back. They kind of signed this pact that said, we're not going to fight. You can have control over our country, but we're not going to do what all these other countries are and just turn into this big war. So, for 3 years at this time during Number the Stars, they have had control. So, it is the Nazi Party ruling Denmark, but they are not doing too much. Obviously, people are fearful of what could happen because they're seeing a lot of other bad things happening around them. And the Jews are definitely uncomfortable with the situation. But as of right now, nothing has happened. And Great Britain and France, which are other countries in Europe, they're close by, are trying to stop Germany because it is more than just Denmark that they are controlling at this point. And even though Denmark is kind of starting out with no resistance and no fighting, it obviously is happening other places in the world. So Adolf Hitler was the main dictator that led Germany and the Nazi Party at this time. He at first, people really liked him. They agreed with what his propaganda was. People voted him in. They wanted him, but I don't think necessarily very many people knew what his big picture and scheme was. The other people that didn't maybe like him were kind of fearful of him, to be honest. And so there was lots of generals and lots of people that were following him in the Nazi Party. He absolutely despised the Jewish religion and wanted to remove this culture completely from the world. And he was going to start in Germany and just expand that in his mind. He wanted Germany to rule the world. He felt like Germans were the best people, the best roots, religion. They had the best qualities with their DNA, and he just wanted Germans to just rule the world. So the Nazi Party was a group that followed Hitler's command, and they also wanted to get rid of the Jewish population. At first, they were just patrolling the countries just like regular cops or soldiers were. But when they were told that they were to capture the Jews, they just followed with command. So a lot of people feared that this was coming. They had seen it happening in other countries around them. And the Christian families really wanted to help these Jewish families because these are people that they've always lived with. They go to school with, they go to events with, they live around, and they don't really see each other as any difference. They know there's a different religion, but they've never really known why the Jews are obviously so bad in these people's opinions. So Denmark really bonded together and were there for each their people. In 1930, there was about 1,500 Jews that escaped to Denmark from Germany and Poland. So this is before Number of the Stars had happened, before Germany had came and invaded Denmark. So it's about 10 years prior, other countries were already having these problems. And so Germany and Poland is south of Denmark. And so all those Jews escaped to Denmark because it was a free country at the time. They had no fear. But then on April 9th, 1940, the German Nazi Party invaded Denmark in just about 6 hours and had taken over. They did sign a non-aggression pact to try to stay out of the fight. They had seen other countries go straight into war because they wanted to fight for their rights and not to let the Nazi Party take over, and it did not end well for those countries. So they decided, we're not going to fight. We are going to try to not just completely surrender, but to let you come in and rule our country. But they just felt like that was the safest at the time. But at the same time, Nazi Party really didn't want to go in there and fight. They wanted Denmark to be that model country where they could show the rest of the world this is what it would look like if Nazi ruled the world. They're trying to be peaceful. They started to implement more and more of their idea of what the law should be. So they did not let Jewish teachers teach anymore. They made Jewish shops close down, or if they were still open, the Jews could only shop at those shops at certain times. They created curfews so anyone could not be out having plans and trying to go against the government. They made the Jews wear the Star of David symbol on them so that they're always identified, and everyone had to carry their IDs around with them. They just wanted to make the Jews feel as secluded as possible, basically. They started to torment and kind of do mind tricks as time went on. There was a group of people, though, that was the Danish Resistance Party. And this is people that weren't really even Jewish. They were the people that just felt like this was wrong. They knew that this was going to turn into a war eventually. And at the time, there was about 8,000 people that were living in Denmark that were Jewish. So this is a big population, and they didn't want the Nazi Party to just wipe them out or take them to wherever they wanted. So there in 1942, this resistance party was formed, and their main goal was to protect the Jews and to make sure that they were safe and that they just disagreed with everything that the Nazi Party was starting to bring in. They knew as a country they weren't going to fight, so this group of extreme people wanted to fight for their country. This was a lot of college age students and some adults. And it started out with just them going on strike and protesting. They would put up signs, they would have secret meetings, but then it started to turn into gun violence and them actually fighting back. Started breaking curfew. They kept going to meetings and secretly plotting their plans. And this is basically what caused the pact to be broken. And Nazi just decided that they were going to just take over and it wasn't going to be peaceful anymore. So there was a lot of people that were in this resistance party. There was other people that were kind of scared. They didn't want to get involved because they knew if they helped a Jew escape or hide, they could get arrested or killed as well. But it did turn into a majority of Denmark was there to help the Jews out. So on Rosh Hashanah, that is the night of the Jewish New Year, which was September 29th this year, word got out that they were going to be captured and that they had to do something. A lot of them went to the synagogues that night for their Jewish New Year, and the synagogues are their big churches. And word had leaked out. There's rumors that it was from one of the people that were working in the ambulances. But somehow they found out that this was going to happen that night, and they were going to do it because they just knew that all the Jews would be home. They would have that was their night of their religion, and that's when they were going to attack because it symbolized they were going to destroy their new year. So a lot of people were panicking. They were trying to find ways to help them hide, help them escape. They did get a hold of Sweden, and then Sweden agreed to let the Jews escape to their country and be safe. And so there was a water channel in between those two countries, but it's just a few miles away. And so a lot of them, for about 2 months, hid the Jews in their attics, in their stores, in the hospitals, and they did everything they could to protect them, and then they helped them escape a few at a time in fishermen boats to Sweden. So they couldn't go, they were controlling all the roads, they were controlling all the big ships. But these fishermen boats, guys would go out and go fishing, so they can sell their fish, and they convinced people, paid people to take them over to Sweden. So that really is what let them escape. About 90% of the Jews in Denmark did escape, which is about 7,200 people. Other countries were obviously not so lucky. And this is a large number in the grand scheme of things, but compared to everyone that did die during the Holocaust in other countries, I don't feel like this is brought up as much as it probably should be because Denmark was a country that succeeded against this. There was about 500 Jews that were captured. A lot of Jews that were older, maybe bedridden. There was some Jews that committed suicide because they knew that this was coming, but there was only about 51 of them that actually died during the Holocaust and were taken to either ghettos or concentration camps and died there. So a majority of them did escape. So this is all basically the background of what's happening in Number the Stars. You're going to find out your main characters, and we'll talk about what's happening in each chapter. But this is all based in a child's perspective. And so the child does not understand a lot of what's going on, and the adults do. But what the adults are understanding is all the things I just kind of briefly covered. And I will cover them more as we're reading each chapter. I don't want to give away what happens in the story. But that's what happened in Denmark. It was a successful country that fought for their rights, and a lot of people stepped up and saved the Jews. But that's not quite the case in a lot of other countries. And after we read Number the Stars, I have a movie we will watch that's based in the same time frame, same kind of plot in the same place, but a little bit different characters and different things happening. And we'll compare and contrast those stories. And then we will also be looking at some of the other countries and how their stories are a little bit different. But that's